Hi, my name is Savannah, and today's video is going to be about my journey to labeling myself as disabled. A disability is a mental or physical impairment stopping your ability to do normal tasks. I'll put an actual definition on the screen because I can't remember the exact definition in my head right now, but I'll put one up on the screen. So I have had a lot of medical things and stuff happen throughout my life, multiple different things and different occasions, and it really just struggled my entire life with lots of things. But I just thought, well, I'm not in a wheelchair or, blind or have all these things, so I'm not disabled. But there's so many different, disabled doesn't look one way, and, dynamic disabilities exist, and there's just all these different things. So I'm going to basically lay out the story of a quick overview of everything that has happened to me to lead me to here now, to accepting the fact that yes, I am disabled. So whenever I was born, I was premature, lots of medical problems, very sick, and one of those being club foot, which I had to wear braces on my legs for years. So I have my tiny little baby brace, and then my toddler brace, which are kind of old and dirty, but I had to wear these for a few years. I went through lots of physical therapy for that as a child. Then a few years later, I was diagnosed with ADHD, which is a disability also, but at the time people didn't see it that way. And honestly, even now people don't see it that way. A lot of people think ADHD isn't even real, but it is. And also after that, another thing that had been an issue since I was born was my hands. I just have no strength. My ability to write, you couldn't read my handwriting. These things, they just don't work, okay? And I went through physical therapy for that, and it didn't really work. I mean, my handwriting got a little bit better, but the strength, my hand strength is still non-existent. And that was all before the age of 8. And then at 8 years old, I just became super sick and was dying of this mysterious illness that no one could figure out. And turns out I have Addison's disease, which is also considered a disability. Since that time, I have been dealing with joint issues, all these other problems happening this entire time, along with all these things. So once I got to middle school, I started having joint dislocation. My jaw would pop out of place, my hips pop out of place, my knees, especially my knees. And I would go to doctors and they're like, oh, growing pains, this and that. And until this happened when I was 12, until I was in high school. And then I had to have knee surgery because I had a torn meniscus from all of the popping. And even after that, nobody was like, this is weird. So I suspect, and some of my doctors also suspect, that I have EDS. So that's something I'm in the process of getting a diagnosis for, which is also a disability. And since I had the surgery, things were a little bit better, but as of recent years, since COVID, and I think since I had COVID, my health has just completely gone downhill and gotten worse. Other joints, shoulders, hips, and jaw and things have been started popping again. I also am constantly having a high heart rate, which so I suspect that I also have POTS along with all this. And it's gotten to the point where I had to buy a rollator so I could walk and then be able to sit down, which I haven't had to use that in a while, but I now, because of my hip and dislocation and subluxation, I've been using a cane, and more recently just full one-sided body, like muscle spasms in my face. Just, I don't know, so many mysterious things going on that my doctors can't figure out. But it's gotten to the point where it has completely disabled me. Like, I can't stand up for more than a few minutes at a time. So, you know, being completely knocked down really made me realize that, like, you know, that, you know, yeah, you're disabled and you have to, you know, treat yourself that way, because I used to be a person who, because of all these things, I had to try 10 times harder to do things that other people could do. And there were people who called me lazy and, you know, said that I just wasn't trying hard enough. So I became the type of person to push myself so that way no one could say those things, which probably didn't help me any. But so in the past year, I've had to force myself to rest, and it's been actually pretty difficult because, you know, you feel like you can't do anything, you're not doing anything, and you feel, you know, like you don't have any use. But I just keep having to remind myself that people are just here to be people, and we don't have to have jobs and be productive and to have worth. So that was one of the things that's been hard. But so all these things have happened, and up until this point of the recent years, I did not consider myself disabled. I consider myself chronically ill. I have Addison's disease. It's a chronic illness. It's something that I have to deal with and treat and think about every single day. But other than that, you know, I have always seen myself as someone who just has to work a little bit harder and try a little harder to do the things other people do. But really, all these things were just me being disabled, and I didn't know. And I didn't have the, you know, help. I think the biggest thing with all of these things is when you have when you get the flu, you know, you're sick, you're there for a week and you're sick, and then you get better. And I think that most people that don't have any chronic illnesses or disabilities, they just expect that to be the way things are all the time. But for me, like, when I was diagnosed with Addison's disease, I was, you know, very close to death. I was so super, super sick. And I got better. I wasn't dying. And I was, you know, healthy to an extent. But I still had to take medication every day, and I still had to deal with all these other symptoms that came along with it. And people just expected me to be like, oh, you know, here, take this medication, and then you're gonna be completely fine. When that's not the case at all. You know, do this physical therapy, and then you'll be completely fine. And you know, I had physical therapy for my knee. I had physical therapy for my club feet, and those got fixed. But like the hands, they didn't get fixed. This those were, a big issue. I had, teachers make fun of my handwriting, and the way that my hands look. I mean, they're very bony, skinny, I just have, no muscle ability, but, so there's just so many things about me that I just, brushed off as, it's just something that I have to deal with. And, people would joke and make fun of me for these things, but I didn't know at the time, but now I do. And now that I know that I'm disabled and all these things are just part of the thing, that there's so many things that I can do now to, accommodate myself and help myself. Because before I was just thinking something's wrong with me, maybe people are right, maybe I am just lazy, maybe it's, I don't know. But now I know, I can use certain things and do certain things that I know will help me. And know that, rest is a productive thing. And even though other people might think that, you're lazy, you're not doing anything, but to be able to do anything, I need to, I need to take breaks, I need to rest, I need to not push myself so far that I can't do anything. And another big thing is to ask for help. Like, I always be the type of person to try to do everything on my own for myself. But now I know that, there's just certain things that I shouldn't be doing if I want to get better or not be in so much pain. So I feel like that was kind of all over the place, but that is my story of how I came to the terms and figured out that I was disabled.